Good afternoon. I'm Kay Betz, and we're in Beeville, Texas. It's April 25th, 2016, and I'm here with Elsa Mathews from the Rockport Center for the Arts History Committee, and Tom Betz is filming, and we have been graciously invited to the studio of Jayne Duryea, and also here is her significant person, Jayne Duryea, and we're in front of so many of her wonderful paintings and glassware work and ceramics, just very inspirational. So Jayne, thank you for spending this time with us. And we'd like to start out, as we've discussed, with you're talking a little bit about how you got to South Texas and became involved in art, and then how you became knowledgeable about Simon Michael and what you've done at Coastal Bend College to honor Simon Michael's memory. So let's just start out with, how did you get here?
Okay. You want me to look at the camera?
You can look
wherever I want. Okay. Let's see. In 1981, I came down here on an interview out of industry with an architectural firm, doing renderings and those kind of perspectives, and offered a position to teach. And actually at that time Simon Michael was still teaching painting, and I was teaching architecture and illustration. Wonderful little school, reminded me of my junior college. So, and of course Simon Michael was there. I heard lots about him. He retired, I think, in mid-80s, and the gallery at the college, the new gallery, was named after him, the Simon Michael Gallery. There's a plaque there that you all saw when we were there, and it says, philosopher, artist, and teacher, 1984 or 5, something like that, maybe 82. And we still have that gallery today, where we show all kinds of guest artists, and we had shows of Simon Michael there and his collection of the African collection, and probably had 3 or 4 shows of his in his own gallery over the years when he was alive. When he retired from the college, I moved into his teaching position of teaching painting, and every spring I would take all my painting students down to Rockport to see his studio and visit with them. And he was gracious to always let us in, and that went on for years until the year that he passed, which was very sad for us. So we don't go back as much, but we do have quite a few works in the Coastal Bend College permanent art collection of his works and works of his students that were given to us over the years.
Did he have a formal position with the college, Coastal Bend College, or was he like an adjunct? How did that?
I think he was adjunct, and he just taught painting. And actually, I have the same office that he had when he was there. So the building was built in 1981, so he retired a couple years after that. So he did get to work at the college in the Frank Yostis Visual Arts Building.
Did you ever observe him teach?
Not really. I was busy with mine, but I knew a lot of his people because they were local Beevillian. And when I got there, they were probably older students. And when I acquired them, because I took over his teaching position, I got to know them and how he taught and looked at their works and understood their works. Of course, they wanted me to paint on their paintings a lot. And I don't do that often unless a student allows me, because once you start painting on a painting, it becomes yours, because I can see brushstroke, not everyone can, but you can look at the paintings that we have, or the paintings that are left behind that were his students, and see his brushstroke of light, because he was excellent in adding light to the work. Quite a colorist.
How did he do that light thing? What was the technique that he used to create that light? Because so many people have talked about that.
Well, it's high contrast. It's very gestural line, extreme contrast. And, if you look at it, it's probably an abstraction to some people, and they don't understand it. But when you see it in the whole, it's a real real light there. So.
Now, people think of it as being real representational, but if you really look at his stuff, it's very expressionistic to me.
Absolutely. The brushstroke, I can tell his brushstroke. Yeah.
So, do you have any stories about Simon Michael, either from firsthand or from his students?
Well, actually I have quite a few pictures from the exhibitions we had that you might want to include.
Oh, great.
Norman Wallace was the president at that time when he was retiring, and I have this great shot of Norman Wallace and Simon Michael standing by his big lions and painting them. And actually, the person who purchased those lions, when Simon Michael passed away, I wanted to buy those lions, and someone else purchased them from Zona. Well, anyway, the person who purchased them from Zona passed away, and their son donated some paintings to the permanent collection of Simon Michael's and sold me those lions. So I have those lions now.
Wow.
That, we're passing them around through the people, which is kind of fun. You remember those lions that were on his kitchen counter? Yeah, they're fun.
So, the artist, teacher, philosopher part, can you talk a little bit about what you think his philosophy was, he was trying to convey to students in the world?
Probably he and I are very similar, and maybe that's why I ended up where I am today, and that's why he was always so kind to me, even though I was teaching architecture, and he would stop in my office and visit with me and tell me some stories, and it's about for me, it's about self-expression and content of the work, which is more important than anything, more than the media that you use. The media is a vehicle for expression, and it can be in 3D or 2D. He was interested in 3D and 2D. His collection surely showed you that. He documented his life in his work, and that's kind of important to me in what I do too. But, painting portraits of people or a landscape or a location, it's all just about expression, and we express what's around us, most likely. Unless we're surrealists, then that's more in our dreams or different things like that.
Was he generally, how can I say this, a supportive teacher of individual expression? No.
Well, yes, I think it was expression. But the group that he had before he retired were really interested in painting similar things together and challenging themselves to capture his spirit, I think, capture Simon Michael, and to capture his light. And if their paintings, of course many of them didn't have that light, they would get him to paint on the painting, and then they would have the light in their painting. And that's we have quite a few pieces at the permanent collection of the college that you can see the light of Simon Michael's hand in those paintings. And it is a very abstract mark, but light is that. Light is amazing stuff. If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be here, so it's kind of important.
Who were some of his students here by name?
Jo Atkins, and she's actually 98 right now. There was a Turner, and there's another one who's still painting. She has some of her works on display over at one of the doctor's offices here. Betz, her last name is Betz, if you remember her, and she actually captured his brushstroke and got some great light, and she's really good at that. Anna Fair Betz, have you heard of her? I think she's still alive. And there's a few others, but not many. They're left.
This may be my perception, but it seems, go ahead.
Actually, Bob Roberts is in my drawing class, my painting class, if you saw him today.
Yeah.
He took classes with Bob, with Simon Michael. And Bob's 71 now. He's back to painting with me, so. Yeah, so it's
Again, maybe my perception, but it seems like Beeville, or at least the art community here, really accepted him in a special way. And I grew up in South Texas in Corpus, and I think of Beeville as being a kind of small Texas typical town. What do you think was the connection between Beeville and Simon Michael?
Well, Simon Michael, from my understanding, he was one of the first art teachers to travel in South Texas and to go many places teaching young children, old people, anyone who wanted to learn, before he even had a position anywhere. So he was well known in South Texas because of that. And then they came to him when he taught at the college and also in Rockport at his studio. So making the rounds and knowing the people, I think, was part of it.
But that seems paradoxical to me. He was European trained, he traveled all over, he dressed very different, he didn't wear fishing shirts.
Right.
But yet the locals accepted him. What was the connection?
Well, he was a wonderful, kind, and loving man. That's one of the big things, I think. And creativity and expression and all of that, such healthy stuff, makes for good people, I think. Creativity.
So they connected on a human level,
Absolutely.
not this superficial kind of
I think so.
dress or thing.
And it wasn't about how he looked, and it wasn't about buying a painting. It was more about the man, I think. He's a good man.
Did he have a sense of humor?
Yes.
What was it like?
He was always happy, and he was joyous, but he was serious in his philosophies. And he would give us a tour with the students, and he would take such time with them when I would bring them from the painting class. It was amazing. He always had time.
And he had a fantastic collection of artifacts from all over the world, art from over the world.
Absolutely.
And would he talk about them in the artistic tradition? Was it kind of a art history, cultural thing?
Yes. So every time we met, of course, I had a new set of students each time, and we would look at all his work first, and then we would look at particular pieces of his collection, and he would mention some of his students like Winberg and some of them, and then we'd walk out and meet his cats, and when he had his Jezebel donkey and feed the geese and all of those things. So there are many students that remember him. Actually, I'm going to have an alumni group come in probably in June, and there are some that went on the tour with me, and so they have stories as well, really. Maybe I could get some of those stories for
That
you.
would be wonderful.
Their perceptions. So I have pictures of the groups when we went, so I probably need to look through some
That would be
old pictures
wonderful.
and get you some
Stuff.
with him.
So in many ways, I've seen both of his compounds there, the one in Fulton that he had. Do you know that
No, I
one?
don't know.
Yeah, he originally named it the Fulton School of Painting, and he had a compound that's now it's been on a tour of homes, and
What is it now?
it's called Tortilla Flats. It's a
Oh, it
private
is?
house.
Okay.
Yeah, has some of the same tile work that he had on the King Street thing.
Okay.
And then we found out the other day from Francis Isles that when he bought the King Street, he bought it for $1,500 and a pound of butter,
Oh,
because butter was
yeah,
valuable at that time.
yeah. Actually, he would give me different tips, and there's a couple I can think of. All the bricks that he had in the front of his studio, he told me how he got old bricks and laid them down, and then he brushed cement between them. So in the back here, we have a spot that we did that, and I was going to mosaic the whole thing. And another thing, one time when I was there, on the outside of his studio, he had this wooden carved, oh no, it was a concrete one, but in the house there was this wooden carved monk about this big. One of the last times I was there, Jean and I would stop by sometimes, and he took it off the wall and he said, "Here, go do something with this." I said, "Oh, okay." So I brought it back with me, and I cast it in plaster, in sand, and cast it. And, it's hanging in the house right now. And then I brought it back to him. I said, "Okay, I did cast your glass." So I think it was kind of fun that he would take a chance on me sometimes. So I think he was happy with me moving into teaching painting. I had a lot to learn back then.
Your space reminds me a lot of his, and as we were talking, it kind of captures that south of France, northern Italy,
And
just-
Spain that he enjoyed so
and
much.
Spain.
Greece.
Did he talk a lot about his travels?
Only if we looked at a painting in his studio. Otherwise, not in conversation. It would be in reference to a painting. So that would bring back the things that we talked about.
Did he have a sense of his importance or legacy?
Probably not, because
So-
that wasn't the point. You know, life is short, brief, and we should enjoy life the best we can and do the best by everyone that we can and make a good life if we can. And it's up to everybody else to figure out whether it has any meaning after we're gone, I guess.
Was part of his motivation spreading art and culture?
Yes, but maybe a philosophy of living too, which is all part of art and creativity. But everyone liked him and knew him on campus, and he was their local artist on campus, and actually had quite a few students, and which maybe they'll come back in the future. I have a couple, but maybe they will all come back. But there's lots of stories in Beeville about Simon Michael.
Like,
Lots of
can you
stories.
think of any?
Lots of photos too that I need to get. I have to probably look at some of the pictures of the shows to remember some of those too. He was an important guy for the college. Yeah. I can't think of any right now.
You will.
Yeah.
Did he go out to eat at local diners when he was here?
Sometimes, but mostly he went to thrift shops and
Really?
found some really interesting things. One of the last things that I remember him showing us, the students, was these bells that went down and hung like that. Do you remember seeing them? And they were actually monk bells, so when you rang them, they were just beautiful in their sound. They were just really exquisite sound. And yeah, he found treasures. He was a treasure hunter. A lot of
He
time.
had that.
Actually, I think I have a belt buckle he gave me that is still in my desk probably. That one day he just came by my office, gave it to me, and it's been in my desk ever since. It's cool.
Wow. Some of his famous students, Winberg,
Yes.
do you have any knowledge of what their relationship was like, how that came about, how long he studied with him? And
Well, Dahlhart Winberg was always something we talked about when I brought the students. He'd show different things that he knew about that. He'd also talk about Gustum Orglum that was from here, from Beeville. And he had some maquettes of his, I think.
and he was the guy who did the
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
His son.
He was from
He was his son. Yeah.
his son.
Son lived
Okay.
here. Yeah. Actually, Winberg was probably his most famous person, so he spoke of him often. But Winberg's work is totally different, very smooth and precise and tight, and the light is nice, beautiful light, but it's not the Simon Michael gestural light. It's very controlled and photorealist, and that's beautiful too. But my interest more is the hand stroke of the artist, and all of that is just so wonderful when you can really see an artist by their work. In that, in high school, you begin trying to control your eye-hand coordination and copy things exactly and do photorealism and get to that point. But then you should be free for expression.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Winberg was an influence on a couple students because they were from his area and came down to school here. And
I've tried to look for the connection. Like, I've always heard he was a student of Simon Michael's, and I don't see
the
a
art
linkage or
expression, yeah.
yeah.
But he was a student who made his own way, in
Yeah.
his own way. And so that's a good thing too. That's probably best, maybe. Instead of making another Simon Michael, it's really better students go out and make their own way.
Very true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the name of the guy, the son of the Mount Rushmore guy was?
Gustum Orglum.
And what work did he do?
He finished his father's project. Yeah, his father is the one who built Mount Rushmore, and then he finished it. So he is probably more known for it than his father was. And he lived here.
And he studied under Simon Michael when Simon Michael taught.
Well, they were friends. I don't know if they studied
Okay.
together. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, a local person had some of the Marquettes from Mount Rushmore because his mother used to clean their house. And we tried to see if they were of value, but they're only valuable in South Texas. They're not a Christie's auction piece, but it was fun to see that. But,
Wow.
yeah.
Are they in the museum?
No, actually, the art museum here is connected to the Houston Museum. A beautiful new space, renovated building and add-on. You saw that as we drove by. Professional shows is what we have there, and they don't have a collection yet. A few things. They actually have a Danville Chadbourne in front, and they have a couple pieces of mine and a few other artists, but mostly it's for exhibition.
Well, cool. Is there an artist community in Beeville?
Yes, and actually we were just preparing to bring them together in an art center again, but the city wants to see if they can sell that property first, and if they don't, then maybe we can start an art center there. But we do have a Beeville Art Guild. That started where the museum's located. The house was given to them by Joe Barnhart, a surgeon out of Houston. And it has evolved into the Beeville Art Museum, run by the Barnhart Foundation now, because the Beeville Art Museum now has the Berklair Mansion. Do you know about the Berklair Mansion? And they've been there 15 plus years, and they are running well, managing, have fine income now, and donations from people who've passed away. But it was begun in 1999 when I was president, and we got that building. It was too exciting. Wow. And its contents, it was very exciting. And it was through a sale of one of the paintings at Christie's that set up the first endowment there. So it was real exciting. Have you been out there yet? That's a fun place to go see too. So
we'll have to do that one weekend with.
Or you could bring a tour.
Oh, that's
a Rockport tour.
Great idea.
We've had a Rockport tour here, and we've also had the Rockport Art Center membership with the Simon Michael Gallery. When somebody else was the director. He's in Florida now. He went to Belize.
Costa Rica.
Yeah,
Larry
Larry.
Felder. Yeah,
When
he's a
Larry
great
Felder
guy.
was the director there. So it's time for another show, probably, for member show.
Tell me about the actual process and your involvement in naming the gallery the Simon Michael Gallery, how that came about.
Well, Simon Michael was preparing to retire, and we didn't want to let him go without being recognized as an important part in the development of the college since 1964. The building was brand new in 1981 when I got here. They were building, so I started in another building and then ended up over there with him, because at that time he was in the auditorium teaching. So it seemed appropriate to name our first real gallery on campus after him, because he was the resident artist painting.
Did you do that?
Well, I was influential about that, and also Norman Wallace was an art supporter president at that time, so that was wonderful that we had him. Otherwise it wouldn't have been, maybe, in this day and age, you know.
What was Norman Wallace like?
He came in second after Grady Hogue, who developed the college. He was a supporter in all areas of the college, and the college never grew faster. And in all areas, it was really wonderful.
Was he out of faculty?
No, he was not. He came in from Cisco. Actually, that's where Grady Hogue came from. So he may have been groomed to come to Coastal Bend. And he's still here. I saw him the other day. He's 83 now, stayed in Beeville. He does art himself. He does bronze and dabbled in all kinds of things, played with all kinds of things.
So he knew Simon Michael?
Uh-huh. And so it was a great name for the college.
That's wonderful. You'll name that after him.
Yes. So now we still are Simon Michael Gallery, and as long as I'm there, I'll keep it going, run the shows, and make sure it keeps his name. But when I do retire, somebody needs to step in and make sure the name remains. on the gallery, because you never know what's going to happen.
Maybe our book will help with that
Yes,
if they get the
absolutely.
significance of that. Maybe you can do a little forward or something.
Absolutely, yeah. I would love to do that.
So you have a Rockport connection too, and tell us about that.
Oh, well, that's...
You're shown in galleries there. And
Yes, I have shown in galleries there, and for a while I had Latitude for a long time, but now I just sell out of my studio here or in Rockport or internet or wherever I happen to be in a donation giving to auctions or something like that. But actually, I was introduced to Rockport by Simon Michael and bringing my students there, so it was always kind of a special place, and his place was. But then my real influence that helped me decide to buy there was Robert Wilson, who used to live there. He was a glass artist who went to Venice and blew glass, and we went to Venice with them and blew glass, and went to their place in Rockport. They were originally from San Antonio. Actually, he tried to get me to buy his place in Key Allegro. I couldn't afford it, so and then ended up buying there because it's such a unique artist community. People come in from all over, whether they're artists, but they're creative in some way, and they all live there from all walks of life, and I love that.
It's amazing.
It's a really well-rounded community. I love it. Rockport's great.
What do you think Simon Michael had to do with that?
Well, I'm sure he was the beginning of all the arts there, the beginning development. So this book is excellent to get it straight, so people will know the influences and how important that was, and how sad it is to see his home sold and purchased by someone else. I wish we could have somehow got together and bought it, but it just wasn't.
Last we heard it was going to be an RV park.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That's the latest.
Okay. I didn't know.
Is that the latest you've
I
heard?
didn't know what.
No, I heard that the developers want to build some cottages there.
I heard that, and then last week I heard that he couldn't.
They changed their minds. But he did want to keep part of the building for something to do with art. And
Well, then-
hopefully work with the center, but
Okay.
nothing's coming but so
Well,
far.
just get me his name, and I'll talk to him and see how we can get it all connected and keep it alive, if we can keep it
That
alive.
would be wonderful.
Yeah, the
We ought to try
center,
to.
the history people, a lot of people looked at trying to get something together. We're trying to get a cultural arts district
Yes.
designation from
Yeah.
the Texas Commission for the Arts.
Okay.
And that's right outside the boundaries of it. But I'm still hopeful that something can happen there because it's a magical place. We heard a story the other day well, I was telling you that Zona said that when they heard there were nude figures being
Yeah.
drawn, they would drive by slowly to
Right.
see what they could see. Did he have a risque reputation?
I don't think so. It could have been, though. I was too young to really know if he did or not. He was always kind to me, and so I never really knew him that way.
Yeah.
But most of his students were women, and they all loved him. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he had one-on-one attention, and they just loved that. And that's one of the reasons he was so good. And he was dapper, and they loved him.
Yeah.
His character.
Charming. And
Mhm.
do you ever go out on his boat with him?
Never did. No.
What do you think ultimately his legacy is?
Probably all that we said. The beginning of the arts in South Texas, I suspect. I don't know anyone else who traveled so far and went to all the little schools and had all these adults and did all this work. So his home really should have some kind of classes there, and I will surely help you if you'll let me know the information about it. I can work with Louis and we can keep it. I'm sure we can, but we probably need to move on that if you're interested. I mean, I'll come teach there, and so will you. Everybody will, in memory of him.
Well, thank you. This was a great start, and I learned a lot, and I appreciate your time and letting us see your studio. You're an amazing artist.
Thank you so much for coming and for saving Simon Michael. That'll be an excellent book, and I'll be happy to help you in any way I can.
Cool.
And I'm sorry, my voice, I'm just getting my voice
No,
back.
you
so
did great.
That's
I'm
You
glad
did
I can talk
great.
today. So.
I didn't get